And, you know, you had mentioned this on your social media page. I mentioned it on mine, where you hear all the time when I ask a Trump supporter, name me a policy, they usually can't name me a policy, but they'll use a slogan, right, Ron, like make America first. And as you accurately noted on your social media page, is that he sells these $60, $70 Bibles, and they're made in China, and it costs $3 to make. He's talking with the Saudis on these phones that are burner phones. It seems like his behavior, everything he does is for him. He puts himself first before the country, and he seems to put Vladimir Putin and evil murderous dictators ahead of the country, right?
Yeah. It's not America first at all. He's a treasonous bastard. And, you know, one of the most enlightening things for me in understanding where the last 3 years of Trump is when I read his deposition in his New York fraud case, the one he had with Engeron. And he had to give a deposition in that case because it was a civil case. And of course, he talked a lot about his finances. And that opened my eyes on so many things because they went into so many different areas, why he doesn't like windmills and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things he really talked about was that his goal, when you're flipping real estate, when you're buying buildings in New York City, that's tons of work, tons of risk, lots of stress. You're buying a building, you're hiring contractors, you're fixing it up, then you're trying to break it into condos and sell off the condos, or you're trying to sell the building or rentals. That's what his dad did, and that's what Trump tried to do for years, but Trump never really liked that business very much. What Trump talked about in that deposition is his lifelong goal was to always make it so that he could put his name on any product, a pet rock, a tree, whatever it was, any trinket, and it would sell. And it would sell for 3-4 times what the product is worth just by having his name on there. And he tried to do that for many, many years with mattresses, board games, vitamins, universities, vodka, so many things, and they all failed. And then what he said in his deposition is he got elected president, and everything changed. Suddenly, the value of putting his name on a product tripled. He said it tripled his asking price. But while he was president, he could not make those deals. So literally, like the minute he left office, he starts cashing in on his name, on his brand. And now he's literally got his name on hundreds and hundreds of products. People don't even realize how much stuff he's selling, but he's not doing it himself. These are just licensing deals. And the Bible is a perfect example. Lee Greenwood out there floundering, trying to sell his damn Bible, can't sell it. He hooks up with Trump. Of course, he did the song Proud to be an American, the Trump theme song, rally theme song. So he does his deal with Trump. Now, all Trump has to do is do a 60-second ad commercial where he's pitching the Bible. And when he occasionally does Christian broadcasts, he brings up the Bible, and that's it. And he's raking in the cash. So this is Trump's scam. This is his grift. And he's making millions and millions of dollars off this stuff. And yes, we learn that this Bible that Greenwood has been peddling, that Trump is now selling, is made in China. It costs $3. They pay $3 a piece for them, and they're selling them to their suckers for $60.
Ron, I talk to some of these MAGA clowns almost on a daily basis, whether they call into this show or I see them at rallies, and they seem to say to me all the time, well, Donald Trump didn't accept his $400,000 a year salary. He could just be driving off into the MAGA sunset and enjoy the rest of his life. He's only doing this because he cares about the American people, and he's putting America before himself. The stuff that you just mentioned, he's made hundreds of millions of dollars and profited off the fact that he ran for office, he was president for 4 years, and he's continuing to do it now. So if somebody comes up to you, Ron, and says, oh, come on, I mean, Trump's not out for himself, he's out for the American people, he puts them first, otherwise he wouldn't run for office, what would be your answer to that?
Trump, in that deposition, which was in 2021, I want to say 2022, testified under oath that his net worth by being president tripled. It went from 2.9 to he estimated 9 billion. Now, I don't believe those numbers, either one, but still, in his own mind, the value of his brand tripled simply by being elected. So he's worth $3 billion, according to him, before he was president, $9 billion leaving the White House. Who cares about the annual salary? That's nothing. He made that up in like foreign dignitaries staying at his resorts.
Right.
He's got the Saudis paying to build him a golf resort in Oman right now. You think that happens if he isn't president? Trump has figured out there's two big things that Trump has got that he wanted his entire life and could not achieve out of the presidency that are more important to him than this $400,000 a year salary by far.
Yeah.
One is the value of his brand, the ability to put his name on any product and sell it. That's number one. But number two is the worship and adulation. And I documented that yesterday when he went home to New York City last night. His entourage, which is this massive caravan of vehicles that no other ex-president has, Obama doesn't have this, goes through New York City. They shut down all the streets. Everybody has to stand. All the cars have to stop while King Donald Trump gets to ride through the city he grew up in, and the whole city has to stop for him. This is what Trump has always wanted and could never. Him being a businessman, he never got that kind of a hero worship or adulation. Now he has it, and that's worth more to him than $10 billion.
Yeah, and I forgot who said this. Oh, Lindsey Graham. To what you're referring to, Lindsey Graham made a comment. I think it might have been in an article or in his book where he said his time at Mar-a-Lago, he said it felt like being in North Korea in that every single time Trump would go into a room, everybody would stand up and clap. I don't know if you saw that comment, but I found it to be one of a few truthful things that Lindsey Graham has said in a long time.
This is something I've documented for years because I follow so many people who are members of Mar-a-Lago for years. That's how I'm able to get so much behind the scenes footage. It's from people's cell phones that no one ever heard of that are members of Mar-a-Lago that hang out there. And yes, one of the things I've shown is when Trump walks into the room, one time I posted a clip that went super viral when he walked in and it was like lunchtime from the golf course. And there was like a table of old people. They had to be like 80 years old, all of them, and there was one like old guy that was like struggling, like Trump stood there and everybody stood up. And these guys they're all like old people struggling to get out of their seats. They're, putting their food down and their forks so they can stand up and cheer the leader like they're supposed to do. And this one old dude was really struggling to get up. He's probably 85 years old. And Trump stood there and waited and glared at this guy and waited for him to get out of his chair before he walked into the ballroom. And that stuff happens all the time.
That is so disgusting. I want to get your thoughts on Laura Trump for a moment. Not the incredible voice that she has. Not your take on that, because I think we both could agree it's worse than Sanjaya. But I would ask you, she made a statement yesterday on Fox News. She was asked about some of the new polls that came out. I'm not a big poll guy. I know you're not huge on polls, but a lot of the polls are showing that Harris continues to climb and she has a lead on Trump, a slight lead. So Laura Trump's asked about that on national television, and she says she doesn't believe the polls. And she says every single time she gets onto a plane, people leave her notes on a napkin that says they're voting for Trump. Like, I don't know if you saw that clip, but yeah, I'm laughing at how absurd it is, Ron. It's ridiculous.
It's just funny because I watch her podcast. I've watched her podcast 100 times, and I've watched 1 million Eric Trump interviews, and this is like their favorite story to tell. And I follow so many right wingers, and you just see these stories all over MAGA social media, which is like different versions of the exact same story. Hey, got into an Uber and my Uber driver was, a gay black guy from, at West Africa, and and he loves Trump, and he told me that he's voted Democrat for 20 years, but he's voting for, and so they love to tell these stories about the big strong men coming up to them with tears in their eyes, thanking them for all they've done for the country. Like, these are stories that they get from the old man. Of course, Trump loves telling them, but Eric tells them, Junior tells them, it's like for the first time in their life, they're important. And, They're, you know, they want everybody to think that they're worshipped and loved by everybody. And, you know, I have to ask myself, like, when was that last time Laura Trump actually flew commercial and came into contact with the public? I seriously doubt it, that any part of that story is true. But they tell those same stories like every single day, over and over and over again. They just change like the person. Sometimes it's cocktail napkins, sometimes it's tears in their eyes, you know, sometimes it's Uber drivers. It's always the same different versions of the same story.
I can promise you, if I see Laura Trump ever on a plane that I am on, I will send her a napkin note that will say, "You couldn't pay me enough to listen to your music." So that will be my note to her. And maybe she probably wouldn't appreciate that, but I will video it and I will send it to you.